The Patriots never put their foot anywhere but on the gas and to the floor when they can, and that's what we saw the Bills do. I was actually a little surprised last night when they called the dogs off in the fourth quarter and put Matt Barkley in instead of Josh Allen, because we've seen time and again where Belichick will keep Tom Brady on the field until there's 3 minutes left in the game or 3 seconds left in the game. But the Bills thumping the Patriots, handing them their worst defeat since 31-0 week 1 of the 2003 season, the Lawyer-Malloy game when the Bills beat the Patriots.
Right.
Patriots win the Super Bowl that year, so it worked out well. But ugly, but at the same time beautiful if you're a fan of Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, or good offensive football, because the Bills had plenty of it last night.
Oh, well, I mean, first off, you're right. We've never seen the Patriots like that. It was kind of crazy to see. You know, even Bill Belichick, I feel like even the look of some of the assistants on the sidelines, it was a little like, I can't believe we're in this situation. I felt like you saw that on their face. And we talked about, like, I don't know, the Terminator was dead a few weeks ago, but last night, I don't know what that was. I guess that was the officially, like, lowering into the lava there. Like, it's official. We need to recreate and build a new machine because it is over there. But, man, Mike, woo, baby, my boy Blue. My boy Blue looking good. I mean, on fire. The Bills on fire. Sean McDermott, you know, we played here to open the show. No, Sean, your guys are good. It's okay to say it. You are good. You're really good. In fact, you are one of the best teams in football. And we continue to see them on this arc of going up to where they have it all, Mike. I mean, they really do. You have a quarterback who can make plays as good as anybody in the game. They got a running game now to where, yes, it's not awesome, but it's good to where you can't disrespect it and just say, oh, we're just going to play coverage on Stefon Diggs and the rest of these wide receivers all game long. And we're seeing the defense really turn around too. I'm really impressed with the Bills, the transformation they've made, the maturity they've shown this year to kind of, you know, like we talked about last week. They went through a phase early in the year where I think they thought they were good. They got smacked in the mouth a little bit, and then we're like, whoa, wait, we need to reassess. We're not as good as we thought. And they really took it as a positive and built on that, and I got to give McDermott a lot of credit for it.
And the running game gets a boost when you've got a quarterback who has the ability and willingness to pull the ball down and run. He had 4 carries for 35 yards last night, including a 22-yard scamper that initially looked like it was going to be called back due to a penalty, but the penalty was on the Patriots. I remember last year going into the playoffs, one of the things we thought they would do is unleash him as a runner. I don't know that they need to this year.
Yeah,
He's doing
right.
so well as a passer. But if there is a greater willingness to take off with the ball, then that's only going to help the offense. And I feel like last night's game, the 4th straight nationally televised game involving the Bills, and they're 4-0 in those games, 2 Monday night, a Sunday night, and a Saturday afternoon, where it was the only thing happening, standalone broadcast on NFL Network. I think the culmination of this 25% of the season run for the Bills had warnings for what teams are going to have to deal with in the postseason. They ran a fake punt. Who the hell runs a fake punt when you've already got your division title won and you're playing a team that you're obviously better than and will beat over the course of 60 minutes? Something to think about for the Kansas City Chiefs or anyone else they may encounter in the postseason. Josh Allen running the ball 22 yards. Something to be ready for. Something to be afraid of. Something to plan for. Pick your poison when you're dealing with the Bills. And they're good enough that this is one of the next level things that you do when you're that good. You start laying the foundation for what's to come in the playoffs, and you know you can do that and still win by 29 points.
No, you're right. You're right. Well, it's just giving your team another little bit of an advantage, you know, whether it's the team preparing for you or, hey, that moment where you just go, we need to do something to get some energy going. We're a little flat right now. But, you know, they have trick plays. We've seen them do a number of those over the last few weeks. I think it's all of it. I just think they're a team that is totally in the groove on both sides of the football. And Josh Allen last night, I don't know what else you can, you know, really say about the guy. I mean, some of the plays and throws we saw last night out of Josh Allen are just outstanding. They're outstanding. Forget, like, hey, in the pocket, the lasers he throw. Forget that he should have another touchdown pass on his resume from last night, and they dropped 2 on the same drive. I mean, but it's the plays off schedule to where Bill Belichick must have been sitting there going, wait, we covered them for 6 and 7 seconds and nobody was open. And then he still made a guy miss and moved out of the pocket and got a 20-yard gain. The guy is throwing for 70%, and I would argue his degree of difficulty on throws is higher than anybody in the sport. That's what's impressive. And he's found the fine line, and I thought Greasy did a good job of explaining this last night of he's always been able to hit the bullseye. He's always been able to do that. Hey, Josh, throw it, hit that bullseye. Bam, I got it, no problem. It's the decision-making along with it that has improved the accuracy. You know, he used to get out of the pocket and make a throw and just be like, hey, I see a receiver. He's in between 4 people, and I'm going to try to jam it in there. No, now he's found the fine line to go, okay, that's a little tight, but I can get that in there. And then, oh, whoa, that's way too tight. I'm not going to jam it in there. I'm going to throw it away. And he's really become a true, complete quarterback, and that's what makes them really dangerous to me in the playoffs right now.
Last night, he completed 75% of his passes, 27 for 36, 320 yards, 4 touchdown passes, a rating of 138.7. Let's hear from Josh Allen talking about his motivation last night, even though they already had the division title wrapped up.
It's an extremely well-coached team, and I know this game. If they didn't want to admit it, it meant a lot to both sides. It's a lot of pride on the line for us. We're trying to get number 2 seed, and we put ourselves in a position where we can go get that in week 17, and we know that we got a hungry Miami team coming to us, and they're playing to get into the playoffs, and we got to be ready for everything that they can throw at us.
They did say that you said that you weren't buying into the Josh Allen MVP craze a couple times. Is that a fair interpretation of what you said to them?
I've said multiple times that Josh Allen's a good football player, and he's played well, and he's having a good year.
Oh, Mr. Happy. Well, of course, there was nothing to be happy about. At least the demeanor matches the result for a change. The guy has acted like someone who's been losing 38-9 every year for the last 20 years.
Oh,
and
seriously.
Finally, he has a reason to be a little bit grumpy, although the full season has been a bad one for the Patriots. Back to Allen. Something that I thought of when listening to you and considering last night, there was a moment where he was moving to his right, he threw to his left, it was on target, and as I think it was Greasy. Greasy and Riddick sound so much alike sometimes I can't tell who's who, but I think it was Greasy who said that they always tell you don't throw across your body.
Yeah,
well,
right.
You do it when you can. You do that stuff when you know you can do it. And, Chris, when Patrick Mahomes was taking the NFL by storm in 2018, Josh Allen's rookie year, I remember it dawning on me at some point, he's going to inspire a generation of kids to try to do the things he can, and there will be a certain percentage of kids who realize they can do the things that Patrick Mahomes can. One thing I hadn't considered until 90 seconds ago.
I think you're right.
He also may have inspired Josh Allen
to
try to do some things that maybe Josh Allen hadn't previously tried to do. Because when you've got the arm and you've got the accuracy and you've got the mobility, you throw it all in a bowl like egg and milk and flour and you start stirring it around and you realize you can bake yourself a Patrick Mahomes cake. That may be, and that would be, I think, irony. It probably would be irony, although I never quite know whether or not that word is the proper one to use. If it's Allen versus Mahomes and the Bills give Mahomes and the Chiefs everything they can handle with Allen inspired by Mahomes, playing like Mahomes, beating Mahomes.
Mike, I think it's a very valid observation. I do. I think you're right. Mahomes broke barriers in the NFL. He has. I mean, again, not that it always gets publicized, but, hey, his no-look throws. We see there's no-look throws in football almost every week now because of Patrick Mahomes, what he did there. Then also, I think all the scrambling and throwing across the field in those plays, I think a lot of teams, and if you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, you're saying, look at it and go, this guy I got pulling the trigger, he's no dummy. He's kind of smart. He's not going to, I trust him now. And, man, when he does throw it across the field, we make plays. We get 15, 20-yard gains, do things like that to where I do feel like offensive coordinators, head coaches, the quarterbacks just being more ready to go than ever before because they've thrown the ball 50,000 times before they've gotten the NFL, like we've talked about, whether it's college football, the 7-on-7s, everything, football being a year-round sport from when you're 10 years old now, to where it's not as crazy anymore to do that type of stuff. And Josh Allen certainly has the talent. And Mike, I mean, the Allen versus Mahomes thing, just that little part of it, I would think I think Allen thinks about Mahomes. I do, of course. I mean, everybody thinks about Mahomes. He's the man. But I would bet you Mahomes in his brain looks at Allen as one of the guys where he's like, that guy's a little bit too damn good and threatening my king of the hill status right here. And I don't like it. And I think it's one of the few guys in football that I think could threaten Mahomes for his greatness and his ability to make magic so much.
And you just have to wonder, and again, you don't see it very frequently because you need the natural ability that Allen has, but you have to wonder how many guys on the fly. This isn't just kids developing these powers when they're 8, 9, and 10.
No, you're not.
This is
God-given
older
abilities.
Guys inspired by Mahomes and maybe now inspired by Allen to try to do more things with that combination of accuracy, arm strength, and mobility. It also helps to have Stefon Diggs. And look, this trade that brought Diggs to Buffalo from Minnesota, you can call it a win-win. Although I think right now the Vikings would say if they could undo the trade, they would say we're fine because they're happy with Justin Jefferson, who's on the way up. The Bills got Diggs when he was already at or close to the top, had the ability to be one of the best receivers in the NFL, just needed to have the ball thrown his way more frequently by someone who had the ability to get him the ball more frequently. And whether it was disenchantment with the Vikings' run-based offense or disenchantment with Kirk Cousins, he recently admitted that it was not in his best interest to be in an offense that was going to run the ball so much, although I think Cousins played a role in it. But Diggs has been incredible. Look at this. First in targets with 158, first in catches with 120, and 1,459 receiving yards. Unbelievable performance this year from Diggs. And it took him a while to get going last night, but, man, once he got going, Chris, that was one of his best games ever. And this is just what special teams do. They seize those late season big moments where everyone's watching and they show everyone this isn't a fluke. This is real and we're coming.
Yes. I mean, coming, and I mean, to the point where we know the Chiefs are king, but I just sit there and look at the Bills and go, man, that I think a round 2 can be very interesting. I don't think this Bills team's the same Bills team that the Chiefs beat, 26 to, what was that, 17 earlier this year on that makeup, rainy day up in Buffalo. I think it'll be a whole different type of football game altogether. And you talk about, like, Diggs, it is special. It just shows you really, again, is another great example of a guy getting in a place where he's on a team that knows how to utilize his skill set completely. It fits the right way, so he goes there and they have an offense that has just a wide variety of different routes and different things to do. And we've talked about it a lot, Mike. Diggs has no weakness. He's a precision route runner. He's quick. He's strong. He's got straightaway speed. And I think that's the thing that's jumped out to me. I don't know. You tell me. You've been Mr. Minnesota Vikings the last few years and all that. But, like, I think I took for granted how explosive he is and how, like we saw last night, he can catch a slant and break a tackle while somebody's hitting him. That's the aspect that I don't know if I knew he had until this year, and it's been very special.
Well, I think part of it, too, is the talent and the skill set doesn't flourish until it's used on a regular basis, and maybe you learn for yourself there are things you can do that you haven't had the chance to do in a game setting, and it leads to more confidence, and it leads to that attitude that he has, and he's got it, and it's great. And we've always loved Stefon Diggs, and it's great to see him flourish the way that he is, and it's great to see what the Bills are doing. And
seems it improved him as a person, Mike. I mean, he seems like a different guy just from what you hear on the telecast and everything about it. Like he's so comfortable and happy that now he's the leader of the football team, to where he was just like, an awesome player who kind of just, I think, stood in the background with the Minnesota Vikings. And so that speaks to the culture there, too.
common affliction for the receiver position. Guys want the ball, and when they don't get the ball, they react a certain way. And we saw enough of that from Diggs over the years. When he wasn't getting the ball and he wasn't feeling like it was going their way, he reacted a certain way. And there were flashes this year, and I think it was in that Chiefs game, walking back to the line of scrimmage late in the game when they were trying to move the ball down the field. When you're winning and when you're getting the ball, it's all fine. It can suddenly be not fine when it goes the other way. But for Diggs and the Bills this year, it's been great. And I had a vision. I had an image. I have a flash forward to Bills-Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, barring an upset of either team, because that's now, especially for the Bills. And I don't think the Bills are going to succumb to it because it's been so long since they've done anything in the postseason. They're not going to take any opponent for granted, I believe. But the Chiefs have, 15,000 fans at their games. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be Bills fans that are going to make Chiefs fans offers they can't refuse for that ticket. Whatever it takes, however much money you want, they're going to make a pilgrimage to Kansas City. And there will be Bills fans in that venue. And we still don't know that the Bills are going to have fans for their home playoff games. They've submitted a plan that would entail like 6,700, I think is the number that I saw. But this could be an AFC championship unlike any other. It could be the first time this year that the Bills are in that kind of a big moment where they look up in the stands and they see a lot of Bills fans there, and that may give them the kick. I don't want to fast forward through the postseason because I think it's going to be a great postseason, but my God, if Conference Championship Sunday includes Bills at Chiefs, Chris, that may be as good as the Super Bowl.
Well, it would be unbelievable. It's the two of the hottest quarterbacks in the game. Really exciting offenses that are high-flying, can do a lot of, fun stuff as far as explosive plays, all of that. Defenses, neither one is like the steel curtain, but both are really good defenses who show, that they can rise to the challenge in big moments, and they create plays and do things like that. And, fan bases, it doesn't get better than any of those two right there. Really, Mike, I thought that was going to happen to the Chiefs last year at the Super Bowl, what you're talking about, what the Bills might do to them. I'd be surprised if the Chiefs let the Bills come in and throw money around like that, the Bills fans. Last year, I thought, here comes, San Francisco, all, the 49ers, all the big shot, West Coast money people, the Silicon Valley, all that crowd, everything. I thought, they're going to end up buying the Chiefs out. And, of course, we watched the game on TV and everything like that, and it was 80-20 Chiefs. So I would think the Chiefs protect their, I'm drooling on myself, their kingdom and don't sell out too easily to the Bills Mafia.
We're both drooling as we think about this possibility of Bills Chiefs in the playoffs. And, and it is, at the same time, it's disappointing that the Patriots aren't the Patriots anymore, but it is kind of nice to have some fresh blood at the top of the NFL. And let's spin it around to the Patriots for a little bit, because I think this is a major rebuild. This isn't something where, we've got $51 million in cap space this offseason, we can go out and address all of our problems. I think their problems run far deeper than any one position, especially on offense. Here's Bill Belichick talking about his team's offensive struggles on Monday night.
We didn't have much production. We had, just a combination of things. Protection, drop balls, just lack of good execution. We just didn't execute the passing game well, and they played well defensively with their pressure, and they covered well. So they did a better job than we did.
I still think the dam would have broken at some point last night for the Bills, but on that first drive, as the Patriots are moving down the field and they pull out the trick play, they try to out-Buffalo, and Demir Byrd just flat out drops a ball. He let it hit him up high near the shoulder pads. You never do that. Pops out. That was it. The balloon was pumping up early, and that was the pinprick. It still took the Bills a while to really get it going, but how different the game becomes if you turn that play into 7 points and strike like that and give your offense a lift and a boost. And I think especially at Cam Newton, he needs confidence to build more confidence, and once it gets rolling, he can be unstoppable. That was their opportunity to get it rolling, Chris, and it failed.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we know, we've seen it all year. They're a team that can't play from behind. They want to try to get the lead, control the football, run out the clock. The way the game perfectly could have set up for New England is, score a touchdown there, then okay, maybe Buffalo gets a field goal, they get the ball, another long drive, maybe it's a touchdown or a field goal, and they hope that they get you flustered on offense a little bit, like, no, whoa, well, now we're down, and then the Belichicks feel like they got you because they start to play games in the secondary and do things like that. That's what they want to happen. That's really the only way they can win a football game right now with what they have there. But yeah, I mean, major rebuild. There's no doubt. I mean, we talked about this, last year when Brady was there. I think there was even talks of it the year they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Like, how much longer will this team last? All of that. It's just all come to its finality. Between the COVID guys being gone and then those issues, of course, some of the draft picks. But when you look at their football team, there's only 2 spots on the team where you go, it doesn't need a rebuild, and that's like the offensive line, which is really awesome, and the secondary, and that still has some questions too, because you got J.C. Jackson, who's going to be a free agent. Gilmore, a lot of people are not sure what's going to happen there. So, yeah, Bill and the Patriots, they got their work cut out for them, and they're going to have to make some major moves in free agency and, of course, have a good draft to set their team up to try to figure something out to get back on the successful, path again.
And the narrative has come up from time to time over the years that Bill Belichick, the head coach, is so good. He can overcome the periodic failures of Bill Belichick, the general manager. Even though he doesn't hold the title, he's de facto in charge. He's got final say. He runs the show. Nick Caserio sets the table like Scott Pioli did before him. But at some point, they do have to do better at acquiring talent in the draft, especially at the receiver position where they have failed over and over and over again to properly scout and choose and develop young receivers. It's abysmal.
Don't draft them anymore.
In that regard.
Like, that's what I would say. Well, don't. You just find proven commodities that you've already seen in the NFL. They seem to be better that way than they do with we're going to evaluate the young guy. No, just go with a guy that you've seen in person on the field in the NFL. He knows he's good, and sign him up and make it work that way. I mean, you're right. I don't trust them with drafting that position.
And it's not something that you can quickly fix. Although, if the salary cap drops to 175, as some think it still will, I think that's a bit of a ruse that's going on between the union and the league, and they're back and forth, and that's a broader negotiation that's going to happen. I think it's going to be higher than 175 because the teams don't want to have to cut a bunch of good players. But if that happens, that benefits the Patriots because if a bunch of good players get cut, some of them will be receivers. The Patriots have the cap space. They could go out and get some veterans.
Yeah.
The quarterback position, though, is going to be the first thing they need to address.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.